everyone. Welcome to episode 128 of the arieknits podcast. My name is Ariel, and this is a video podcast where I talk about all the things that I have been knitting and spinning on for the past week. Today, it is Saturday, September 13th, and I worked on quite a bit of my projects this week. I want to say maybe almost all of the projects that I have currently on my needles. I did not work on my blanket. I feel like that might have been the only thing that I did not knit on this week. But I did a lot of knitting, I have a new cast on, and I did some spinning as well, and so I am excited to share that all with you today. Let me start off with what I am wearing. It is something that I have worn on the podcast before. It was something I made earlier this year, but I was trying to figure out, I was like, I think I've worn everything. I don't have any new things to wear yet. I still need to finish some things. It's been, I guess, some time since I finished something. But I've decided to rewear this today because I really need to take some finished object pictures of a lot of things, but this is one of the things that I need to take finished object pictures of, and I thought I would just wear one of those things today and probably for the next upcoming weeks as I try to finish up some things for me to wear in the podcast. But this is just really quickly, because I have talked about it before, this is the Teddy Vest by Sari Nordlund. And the yarn I use is Explore Knits and Fibres, Boucle, DK, and Carlsbad worsted for just like the edging. Both in the colorway Tawny. And I knit size 1. I use US 7 needles, 4.5 millimeter needles to knit this vest. And final measurements were around 34 inches in circumference. So that's about 4 inches of positive ease. It does actually feel quite snug though. It doesn't feel like 4 inches of positive ease, but yeah, I would say I think it's a really cute vest. I've been wanting to make it for a while. I love Boucle. This is kind of a reminder for me. Like, I haven't knit with Boucle in a while, and I want to do that soon, especially as fall is coming around the corner very soon. But I do like this vest. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't really been wearing this on any kind of regular basis, but I do think that it is a nice, I should wear it more often, and so I'm going to wear it today because it's really easy to just put on over like a t-shirt like I'm doing right now. It doesn't have to be like a super warm kind of like thing, like only wear when it's cold outside. Like it's nice and sunny right now, actually. That's why I'm like, I have the windows open right now for all of the sunlight. But it feels kind of cool, and so I feel like, I want to wear a t-shirt, put a little vest over, so that I can wear something knitted without it being like, I feel like sometimes when wool touches directly on my skin, like if I wear one of my knitted tank tops or t-shirts, sometimes it feels a little itchy, but I feel like because this is just something over a shirt that I'm already wearing, I don't get any of that kind of like, potentially itchy kind of feeling that sometimes you can get if it's too warm and you're wearing knitwear, at least for me. So it's kind of nice, and then so I can, and it's, short sleeved, so it's not like covering my arms. I still feel, I don't feel too warm. I don't feel too cold either, and so I think it'll be really nice. So yeah, so I'm wearing this today. Let me stand up just really quickly so you can see it. I did have to shorten it a little bit, and not really any reason for like how it looks and what length I wanted, but because I remember when I was making this, I ran out of yarn. So I did have to shorten it, I think just by a few rows, but it looks fine. Again, I would wear this over something, and so I'm not worried about it necessarily being too short for me to wear. Just have one button here. I think that you can see, it kind of like pokes up right at the top, only on my right side though, but I think the I-cord edging I did here was just a little bit loose, and so that's why it's kind of like flaring out here. On the left side, it's less noticeable, I feel, but I feel like on this side, maybe I just knit a little bit loose, so you can kind of see it kind of like pokes out here, but it kind of bothers me, but it doesn't affect like how it feels wearing it, so that's fine. So yeah, I think it's a really cute kind of vest, and so I feel like I should just wear this more. I think maybe just it was buried in my wardrobe, and so I'm bringing it out today. I want to try and wear it. It's cute, it's comfortable, and it's reminding me about how much I love Boucle, and I have no business thinking about casting on that many more projects this year, because I feel like I already have the things I've already have planned to cast on for the rest of the year will take me through probably some into the next year. And so I'm like, oh, don't add more things to cast on, but also I have some boucle that I'd love to cast on stuff with. So, but yeah, anyway, this is the teddy vest, and I'm wearing it, and I think it's really cute, and I'm quite happy with it. And I want to wear it more. That's kind of like, that was my lesson today. Not lesson, but like my takeaway from this. I was like, oh, I should be wearing this vest more. I think it is quite cute. Okay, let's jump right into my whips for this week. I have a lot to go through because I would say I've got a lot of knitting done this week, and I have some good progress updates. I've reached some like milestones in some of these projects. So let's first start off with this. This is the Fleur Tee by Woolbird. The yarn I'm using is Sewrella cotton linen wool in the colorway Queen Mary's Rose Garden, and I'm knitting size 2. This one is for myself. I'm using US 1.5 needles, 2.5 millimeter needles to knit this. That is the recommended needle size. And I am so close to being done with this one. Sorry, my yarn just got caught on this zipper here. Let me fix that. But, okay, I've made good progress on this. I have finished the left sleeve, so one sleeve done, and then I am almost done. I'm almost done with the second sleeve. I'm so close. I think I have one more pattern repeat and then a ribbing edge to do for that second sleeve, and then I am done. I'm done with the first of 3 that I want to make this year, and it really is finally looking like a tee. It's looking really cute. Actually, this reminds me that I want to try this on. I've tried it on before putting in a sleeve, but I want to try it on again with the, I actually did try this on already. What am I thinking? Yeah, I've tried this on with one sleeve. I want to try it on with the second sleeve because I feel like it kind of like the edge of like this, the armhole sometimes like kind of pulls in before you have a sleeve in. So I just want to make sure, but honestly, I'm pretty sure it's going to be all fine. It seems like it fits nicely. One thing sizing wise that is, I was not expecting a little bit was it's just a little bit shorter than I was expecting it to be. It is still wearable. It still is below my belly button, but kind of like just below. And so it's not super cropped, but I will have to wear some like high-waisted pants just to feel more comfortable in this, especially if I like am moving my arms up and down. But it is good for me to know that the armhole might sit a little bit higher up in the armpit, just so that when I make my second and third one, which is going to be for my mom and my sister, that I give a little bit more length to the body than I think I would need measurement wise, because for me, I'm pretty sure the measurement I did follow I think she called it the cropped, or like there's I think the cropped length and the normal length, and for me, I was like, I just want to see how long the cropped is, because it was 11 inches, and I feel like for some other tops I've made, it's been like 10 inches, and that's kind of right where I feel like it's in between a cropped and like a full length for me. And I'll usually probably make it longer, but anyway, I was just like experimenting, and yeah, I just didn't, because this worked bottom up, I should have mentioned that first, because it's worked bottom up, it is a little harder to guess at what length you want this to be, because depending on once you get up to the underarm and you split for front and back, it's hard to measure unless you're like right on gauge and you do all of that math and you're like, you know, or you look at the schematic, like just how long or deep that armhole is going to be. It's a little hard to gauge where that bottom hem of your top is going to sit on you. And so I am glad that I did mine's first, so I can figure all of that out before I make my mom and my sister's. But it's looking really cute. One thing, and I finally memorized the stitch pattern, and so it's been really great for working on this. It feels like it goes faster because I'm not constantly having to look at the chart And that means hopefully the ones I make for my mom and sister will go by feel like it goes by a little faster, but I will be making bigger sizes than mine, so that it might not actually make it feel like it's going faster. But one thing, I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but yeah, because did I have part of the sleeve done last week, or did I? I'm pretty sure I did, but I think I forgot to mention that there's short rows for the sleeve. So there is no armhole shaping on the actual body itself. It is just a straight edge, both on the front and back on the body, as you can see. But you'll notice that the sleeve actually does slope down, and that's because there are short rows done to make kind of like a sleeve cap before you just start working straight in the round. So that there is short row shaping, and I do appreciate it. I think that there's a bit of a kind of like poof happening right at the top here for my sleeve. And I was able to kind of see it while I was wearing it. I'm not going to really say too much about it before washing and blocking, because that could kind of just like lay itself out and flat and all of that. But I have a suspicion that because I started working on the front and back worked flat when after I injured my finger, and I was started to knit with carrying the yarn in my right hand versus my left. I feel like when you look at it, it doesn't look drastically like a crazy gauge difference happened, but I think that I actually knit tighter using the yarn in my right hand. And then I actually switched this week, or part of last week, to going back to using my left finger, because my finger's feeling better. I just still have to hold the yarn at the bottom of my finger versus at the top. But I switched back because it's so much faster this way, especially in this stitch pattern where you have to switch between knits and purls somewhat often. And then, okay, so I think that over here the gauge is a little bit smaller, so this might be a tad shorter than my pickup stitches for the sleeve. And so that's why I think maybe the gauge is slightly bigger for the sleeve than where it attaches to the body. But it looks fine. For me, it looks fine. I'm curious to see how the second sleeve looks. It looks like it might be doing the same thing. But it is something I'm going to keep in mind when I make number 2 and number 3, because, I just want to make sure. But again, I need to wait until after I wash and block this and wear it and see how it lays. But I do think it might just be a gauge issue because of that I switched the hand that I used to knit this, which probably wasn't smart, but I really wanted to knit on this, and so I did. But I think, again, like it looks cute, looks fine, it fits me, and that's great. And yeah, at the end, I will have to make sure that I take some actual measurements of all the places to see how it sizes up compared to the pattern measurement, so that I can make sure that the ones for my mom and sister match their sizing and what they want. So yeah, so that's the Fleur Tee. I want to show you, this is the second skein. This is all I have left of the second skein, and I actually did get 3 skeins for this size, because that is the recommended number of skeins for this size. And I think I'm gonna either pretty much just make it, or I'm gonna have to get just a little bit into the third skein. But I might have I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have most of 1 full skein left of this yarn and this colorway. But I feel like I can do quite a bit with it. But that's a concern for later. But at least I did not run out of yarn, because that would have been really sad. So I'm glad I'm on not the run out of yarn, just might have a lot of yarn left over. But it's looking great. I'm happy with it. Oh, okay, one more thing. So now that I've worked with this yarn quite a bit, I've almost worked with it for 2 full skeins. This is a fingering weight yarn. I have noticed it does feel very, it is a cotton linen wool, and it does feel very cottony And lately I've been realizing it also feels quite linen-y. And by that, I just mean there is quite a bit of like the linen, I'm pretty sure, that kind of like sticks out in some parts. It's not a lot, but I have noticed it. I have this yarn wrapped around my finger quite tightly because it is fingering weight and I need the gauge to be tight. And whenever a piece of linen is kind of sticking out of the yarn, it like pokes, when it rubs over my finger, it pokes me. And I've had that happen with other kinds of like plant yarn, or yarn that has, I think, especially linen in it. Actually, even some just like wool, where it has plant matter in it because of it's just in the wool. But yeah, that is one thing I wanted to note, just in case you're also experiencing that with this yarn. I do have to pick out the especially pokey parts of the yarn while I'm knitting. But there's been other yarn in the past where I've had to do it a lot and it's kind of annoying. This one's not annoying. It's just sometimes I need to do that. But yeah. Okay, so that's the Fleur Tee. I feel like I have to like start talking faster or just talk less about these because I have a lot of things to talk about. Okay, next up is, I finally picked this project back up. It is my pressed flower socks by Amy Christoffers. And I know I took a break from working on the sock again because of my finger, but I was like, it is my September socks, and I was like reaching the middle of September and I still have to do a second sock for a pair, and I wanted to just like see how much of this I can get done this week. My main goal was to actually just get the heel in. Maybe you'll be able to see it. This is worked cuff down. This is how much I had done last time you saw it, and then I finished the rest. But I just wanted to get a little more work done on the foot before I went back to do the heel. It is a forethought heel, and so I just needed to work a little bit more on the foot before I felt comfortable to start working on it, and then I did. And then I was like, well, now I have the heel and I can actually try it on. I think there are ways to try on the sock without putting in the heel to know when to start the toe, but I just felt more comfortable doing it this way. So once I had the heel in, I got to try it on and I could get a better sense on when to put the heel in, and I just like kept working on the pattern. I kept working, and then I was like, well, now I'm at the part where I put in the toe, so let me just knit on the toe. And the heel and toe are worked the same way. And I was just like, well, let me just work on the toe because it's decreases. And so each round gets shorter and faster. And then I finished the first side. And it's very cute. And it fits quite nicely. This pattern is only one size. I think that there are parts of the instructions that basically say if you need it to be a bit wider, to just go up in needle size. To get the gauge just to change a bit. But yeah, I used US 1 needles, 2.25 millimeter needles to knit this. It is actually the needle size that's right in between the two needles that they recommend to use for this. I just am using my main sock needle, the one that I use to knit all my socks. And the yarn I'm using for this, the main color, the tonal, is Explorer Knits Denali sock in the colorway Thistle. And then the contrast color that I'm using for the flower pattern is my Handspun. Fibre from Union Fibre. And there's surprisingly, maybe not as surprising, but this is what the Handspun skein looks like. And it is quite kind of one color. Like it is just mostly different shades of purple, but there are some light green in there and some like more peachy-ish pink, I guess only right in the center, but there are some green in there, and I don't think that I got to any of the green while knitting on this sock. I feel like you could maybe see there is a slight, I think most of this is just the light pink purple. Hard to see because the contrast is so different from the main color. I feel like, do you see it like right here? Like this flower has more of that peachy color that came in. darker than the ones up here, but then it kind of went back. It's a little bit darker, but then it kind of went back to the light purple paint color near the bottom. And I'm not mad about it. But I was like, oh, the rate of the color change in my Handspun is quite slow. And so it didn't really get through kind of all the changes that is in the Handspun. But I think what's most important is that it looks good with the main color and that you can see it all throughout. And so I am happy with it. It's so cute. And I am, again, just have been pleasantly surprised that this sock has not been annoying to knit. I've always kind of put off knitting this sock pattern, even though I've had it for quite a while, because I was like, it seems so fiddly to have to do this for socks. I've knit the pressed flowers cardigan before, and so I knew how this stitch worked up, and that it's not like you have to carry your yarn because you're only working with one yarn color every 2 rounds, and it's mosaic knitting. So it was surprisingly not that bad, especially I have to be in the right mood for color work, but this one, every time I knit on it, I'm like, wow, this is not as bad as I think that it's going to be fiddliness wise. It's quite nice. So that's why I kind of just ended up working on it a whole bunch this week and finished up one side. And I did, because I am just so, not that I'm so worried. It's not really that big of a deal, but I just don't want to chance getting stuck on not finishing a second sock. I had to cast on and start the second one just so that it's easy to get right back into it and not have to be like, oh, I have to cast on, and then have that be like the stopper in me for doing the second sock. But I've started the second sock. I still need to, maybe I'm halfway done with maybe a little over halfway done with the ribbing at the top. There's a 3x1 rib. But then I'll connect with my contrast color soon, start working on the flower pattern. So that's pretty exciting. I'm thinking that this one it could be that it takes me all the way to the end of the month to finish. But that's also fine because I'm still on track with my socks for this year. And then I have, is it 3 more? October, November, December. Yeah, 3 more after this to finish my year of socks. Yeah, so that's my pressed flower socks. Okay, let's move on right into, I made good progress on this. This is my Mabel sweater by Hoodie Locatelli. The yarn I'm using is Explore Knits Denali sock in the colorway Leaf Peeping. I got it at Flock this year, and so I'm really happy that I'm using it right away. And I'm knitting size 2. I'm using US 3 needles, 3.25 millimeter needles to knit this. That is the recommended needle size. And let me hold it up now so you can see what I got. The progress update on this is that I have finished an entire skein of yarn so far. And so this is what I got with 1 skein of yarn. And as you maybe know or have heard me say before, it's always nice and a good stopping point for me when I do finish a skein of yarn, because then I can hold this and show it to you on the podcast without it being attached to yarn, or the yarn falling off somewhere, getting tangled in the bag as I'm trying to pull it out to show it to you all. And so it's a nice kind of stopping point and progress point for me, and also kind of a goal. I'm before the next podcast, let me just, if it seems doable for me to finish the skein, I'm let me just finish it before the podcast. And so this is 1 skein. I've gotten a decent amount under, for the body, under the arm. And so I think that I have to skein up my second skein. It's not skein up. I need to wind up my second skein. And then I am going to do the neck next. And then I'll probably start on the sleeve. And so I'm going to be having a lot of sleeve to do on this, because 2 sleeves. But it's working out nice. The stitch pattern in the beginning, I was worried about counting and knowing which row of the stitch pattern I was on, because the This is kind of, I think she calls it a waffle stitch. I've never done this stitch before on any pattern, but it is a 4 round or 4 row pattern repeat, and it does involve purling one below and knitting one below. So I like the subtle texture that it gives, because it looks, you know, like a 1x1 rib, but like something else is happening. Looks kind of brioche, but it's not brioche. Looks kind of like half fisherman's rib, but not. And so it is very interesting. Basically, when you count like the V's for the knit stitch, every 3 is actually 4 rows worked. And so it is quite different. Yeah, it's different. But I'm liking it. I figured it out. And so I don't have to really count. I don't have to count, like, what row of the pattern am I in right now. Like, I can just look at it when the next round comes along. I can read my knitting and figure out what to do next, and it's easy to memorize, so I don't have to look at it, like, especially for working in the body, in the round. I can just work on it. I can watch TV. I do have to look, especially for when you're doing the knit one below or knit purl below. I do have to look at my knitting to do it, but it doesn't feel that tedious. It's not like I'm doing cables. So it's been really nice. We'll see how it feels working on the sleeves, but I do feel like once I get in the neck ribbing, I'm pretty sure it's ribbing, it's going to start looking like really, really polished. So that'll be kind of like another boost of excitement to work on this. But it's looking nice. I love the colors. Oh, is it season 5? Season 5 of Only Murders started this week. The first 3 episodes are out, and so I watched all 3 in one night, and I was working on this while watching it, and so that was really great. If you don't know, this is called the Mabel sweater because of the character that Selena Gomez plays in Only Murders in the Building. Her character is named Mabel, and in the first season, she wore a sweater that Joji Locatelli was inspired by to knit a matching sweater, and so that's why it's called the Mabel sweater. And I did try to use a color that's something I would like to wear, and I do like this color for me, but I did want it to be, Mabel wears a yellow sweater, like her sweater in the show is yellow, in this, the one that this was modeled after, and that shade of yellow is not quite me, but I did want it to be somewhat in the same realm, and so that's why I chose this color. And also because I was eyeing this color from Explorer Knits anyway, and so I thought it'd be just a great matching. I feel like I love when that happens, when there's a yarn I want and there's a pattern I want to make, and then the two kind of come together. It makes me feel really good to get the yarn for that. So yeah, so that's my fun update on this sweater, is that I've finished 1 skein of yarn for this, and so I can start starting the 2nd skein, which is really exciting. Okay, next up is I think we're getting into the projects which, well, I guess the sock was a project that I haven't talked about in some time, but going back to some projects you haven't seen, I mean, it might have only just been like a couple weeks, but I've made good progress update on my Rivendell pullover by Sari Nordlund. The yarn I'm using is Explorer Knits Earthy Sock DK in the colorway Chinle, one of my absolute favorite colors from Explorer Knits. And I'm knitting size 1. I'm using US 4 needles, 3.5 millimeter needles to knit this. So let me hold up what I have right now. Okay, are you ready? Here it is. I have finished 2 sleeves. Well, 2 sleeves are finished. I think that you've already seen 1 finished sleeve, and this past week I have finished the 2nd sleeve. This is my stitch marker from last time that you've seen it, and so I really did have majority of the 2nd sleeve to work this week, and I was like, let me just get this done. I need the 2nd sleeve done. So I did a lot of knitting on this to get the 2nd sleeve done, completely done. I did the Oh, okay. This was one thing I think I forgot to mention. Working on the sleeves, and this was maybe helpful because it's been a little bit since I've worked on this, and so I had to get reminded again. And this is why it's great that I already had some of the second sleeve worked already, because I was looking at the stitch counts, and I was like, why is it not matching with size 1 when I've put in my notes and I'm knitting size 1 of this sweater? It is because I am knitting size 1 of the sweater, but for the sleeves, I am knitting size 2. I am following the stitch counts and the decreases for size 2 for the sleeves only. And that is because when I did the pickup for the sleeve, the pickup rate was I was not getting anywhere near the stitch counts for size 1. And I would have to skip a lot of stitches to get that stitch count for size 1. And even my pickup rate was even less than what the pattern recommended or advised. And even then if I went at the pickup rate that the pattern said, the stitch count I would have gotten actually would have been even more than size 2 for the sleeve. It probably would have been size 3. I don't even know. But I think what felt right and what looked right and because it looks like it fits. The sleeve isn't like bulging or is too small for where the armhole is, where it connects, I think. In my opinion, it looks fine. But my pickup rate was like every other stitch. And I think in the pattern it said maybe 2 out of 3 or maybe 3 out of 4 or something like that. But I had to go every other, and then I got to size 2 of the sleeve. And I thought that was crazy. I don't know what happened. I know people lately, although this is a older pattern of Sari Nordlund's, like maybe last year or the year before, but that a lot of her sleeves are just like really small for the size, and people have sized up. I feel like I've heard this especially for the book club cardigan, which I didn't do for the book club cardigan, but I did size up my needles, and so that could have just made my gauge bigger. But for this one, I really felt like the pickup rate was just not it. It did not work out. It didn't work out at all for my size, and I don't know what happened there. I'm pretty sure that what am I trying to say? I feel like sometimes if patterns only tell you when you're working on the body and where the armhole's going to be, if it just gives you a measurement, then your row count can be off. And so when you pick up for sleeves, that could count for the change in pickup rate to match the pattern. But I'm pretty sure for this one, I did it by row count. And so it should have matched whatever the pickup rate was for the sleeve. So interesting. But honestly, it worked out. Again, like this sizing looks right for the sleeve. It looks like it's dipping in a little bit right at the top, but that's just because there's a cable. And I think with blocking, this cable will block out and will fit right in this arm hole on the body. And it also, I tried this on as is with both sleeves, and the sleeves fit nicely. I think if it was smaller, if I went with size 1, it would have been too snug. But I think it fits nicely. The length is great. I followed like the instructions for size 2. It wasn't just the pickup rate, it was also the decrease rate. For the sleeve, I followed just for size 2. And so that is one thing I did want to mention. I'm knitting size 1 for the body, but the sleeves I'm knitting size 2. And I just think it worked out much better. So, second sleeve done this week, which is great. And then, again, because I am now not connected to a ball of yarn, I didn't finish a whole ball of yarn, but I'm not connected to one right now. I decided to not start on the body again this week. I just worked on other projects while I have this detached, so I can easily hold this up and show it to you, which is really great. But here it is. I'm I think that it is deceivingly, the body is actually longer than it might appear to be, just because like the V-neck is actually all the way up here, and it's just the V of the pattern goes way lower into the body, and so this actually kind of like counts as the body. So I'm like tricking my brain because I feel like I see this amount from under the V, and I'm like, wow, I have a lot more body to go. But if I like hold this up, need to get this level here. If I hold this up to me, like it's close to being done body length wise, and so curious to see how much longer that'll take for me to work on. But yeah, it'll be exciting to get the body back on the needles and start working on this. I think I still have maybe 1 or 2 more body decreases to do, because there are body decreases to shape in towards the bottom. Yeah, we'll just see how it goes. But I'm really happy to have this kind of working on this again, and that both sleeves are done. I feel like that's always a great feeling, is when both of your sleeves are done for a sweater. Also, what was really nice was, this is the Rivendell pullover, and I've been listening to audiobooks. I don't know if I've mentioned this at all this year, but I was never really an audiobook listener in the past, and at some point this year, I was like, I'm just going to do it, and I've been listening to audiobooks quite a bit. But I was listening to the Lord of the Rings books while working on this, and so that it felt pretty fun. Just felt on theme for the Rivendell pullover. So I thought that was kind of fun. Okay, next I have 2 more projects to talk about. I have one more that is one that I've picked up again after a couple weeks, and then the other one's a new project that I am so excited to talk to you all about. Okay, so here is the Floret top by Marie Eve Wedge. Here it is. I have picked this back up, and I'm so happy I did, because wow, this yarn is so great to work with. The yarn is Little Wing Fibers Shadow Sock base in the colorway Nori, and I did buy this yarn at Flock this year, and so again, feels really nice to be using yarn right away after I buy it, especially from Flock. And I am knitting size 2. I'm using US 2.5 needles, which is 3.0 millimeter needles to knit this, and I am just working on the body right now. Here's my stitch marker. I feel like this is a fingering weight, a very small gauge top, and so I feel really accomplished with this amount. Let me like turn it upside down. This amount of body done in a fingering weight yarn feels really great. Okay, you can definitely see it on camera. Right where I picked it back up, for some reason this happens for my projects. When I pick it back up after some time of not working on it, the stitches look really weird. You can see this line right across, and that might be like a gauge thing, like it's changed from the last time I worked on it. If it's been some time and I've worked on other projects, maybe that's why. Hopefully it'll block out. It's not that super noticeable, but it is, I do see it. But yeah, oh, this yarn is so nice. It's so drapey. I feel like you can just see that. And it's so soft and smooth. I'm really been enjoying working on this. Part of me is like, why did I stop working on this too? And it is because my finger, it's fingering weight yarn. I have to wrap it around my finger twice for it to have the right gauge, for it to be tight enough. But yeah, it's looking great. I mean, it's kind of looking a little plain, but I'm almost done with my first skein. I was kind of hoping to finish up this first skein before the podcast today, but it didn't quite work out. But I did knit on it a lot, and so I feel accomplished. If you notice, both on the front and back, there's these yarn over eyelet column that goes, it's going to go all the way, again, it's front and back, it's on both sides, and it goes all the way down to the bottom, right from the top all the way to the bottom, and then there's going to be pretty sure I already showed a picture of the pattern, but there's going to be some nice kind of like ruffly thing that goes all the way from the front to the back, kind of along that edge, and so I'm really excited to start working on that. But I do think that once I'm done with the first skein, I'm not going to be done with the body yet, but I'm going to put it on hold while I do the neck. I'm pretty sure it's an I-cord neck, and also around the arms, just to get that looking a bit more polished, and so I can get a better sense on what the final product is going to look like. And then I will probably just finish the body before I do the ruffle thing. That might be what I do, because it's not a sleeve, it's a ruffle. And also, because it does go pretty far down the front and the back, I will need enough body done before I can even do that anyway. So yeah, that's kind of where my thoughts are on this right now, but it's looking really great. I want to finish this preferably this month or early next month, just because I have other projects that I want to work on, and I have a picture idea for that project, and that would require it being done before the end of October. So yeah, and by picture I mean finished object picture. Okay, so next project I want to talk about is a new cast on this week, and it's also in collaboration with Woolfolk, because I don't know if you all remember from my flock video. Actually, I might have talked about this on my podcast where I talked about flock, but I definitely posted a picture about it on my Instagram stories when I did a slight just like recap, or just posted some pictures that I took at flock. But when I visited the Woolfolk booth at flock this year, they had a sample of a hoodie that I absolutely loved. Like, it caught my eye. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I touched it, because basically I feel like every single wool yarn from Woolfolk just feels so luxurious. The prices do reflect the luxuriousness of this yarn. But I fell in love with this hoodie, and they're like, oh, we'll try it on. I asked what pattern it was, and they told me what the pattern was. I like took note of it. I looked at what yarn it was, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna think on this. I want to plan. I was like, I know at some point I will buy this yarn to make this hoodie, but I need to think on it more. And we're talking, I was with Megan at the time, we're at this booth, and we're talking about it, and they're like, well, we can give you yarn for this hoodie. And I was like, that would be absolutely amazing. That would be crazy. And it was so sweet. Vanessa, she reached out after flock, and she told me that she could send me some yarn for this hoodie. And just to be fully transparent with you all, since this is a collaboration with Woolfolk, they did give me this free yarn. And I did tell them, and we agreed that I would do like a certain agreed amount of posts on Instagram, and also talk about it here on my podcast about this project. But as far as the podcast, like, I talk about all the things that I work on anyway, and so it's not going to feel all that different. At least I think it won't feel all that different, because that's what I talk about anyway on this podcast. But I'm so excited about this, because I really was eyeing this hoodie at flock, and I was just like, couldn't stop thinking about it. And so it's really crazy to have this opportunity and to work with Woolfolk. I have done test knits for them in the past, and so this just feels like a really great opportunity. And I get to use each time I've worked with them, I've worked with a different line of yarn that they have, and so that also feels like really great and super cool for me to share it all with you. And so I do actually have the yarn, and also I did cast this on this week, and so I'm so excited to share it with you all, and also to hold this yarn. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this yarn is from Woolfolk. This is the Tind, Tynd yarn line. My camera will not focus quick enough for this, but I will read it. This is in color 00, which is the white color. This is the same color that the sample was in at flock, that I tried on and that I saw and I loved. And so same color. This is 223 yards for 50 grams. So also, if you've never worked with Woolfolk yarn before, their skeins, I think probably all or most skeins are 50 grams. And so when you take a look at how much skeins you need for a project, it's going to look like a lot because the skeins are 50 grams. And so this is a fingering weight yarn. Again, 223 yards for 50 grams. And for like a hand-dyed yarn where it's 100 grams, that's, you double that. That's 446 yards for 100 grams of a fingering weight yarn. And, oh, this yarn, it's so soft. It's so crazy because it is a 2-ply. This is a 2-ply yarn. And when you look at it, you can see the 2 plies. Feels so light and so soft and does not feel ropey. Not that any of the, like hand-dyed yarn that I buy feels ropey, but in comparison to this, I feel like that's the only way for me to kind of describe how the other yarn kind of feels. I do wonder actually if it's just either plied less tight, or if even the singles are just spun less tight. Oh, you're not going to be able to see that because my eyeballs are in front of the camera. Let me try to focus the camera here to the yarn, but it just feels overall just like, it doesn't feel fragile. It just doesn't feel super tight. I'm going to unspin this so you can kind of just see how light that is. And so I do think that might be what contributes to this feeling as soft as it is, because it is just a, I don't want to say just, but there's like no alpaca, right? It kind of feels alpaca-ish, and look how drapey it is. But it is just 100% Ovis 21 Ultimate Merino wool. So it's merino wool, which merino wool is very soft, but this just feels extremely soft. Like, it really does kind of remind me of alpaca now that I'm like thinking more about it. It's so nice. And this is what I immediately felt too when I was at the booth and I felt the finished, like the hoodie, like it knitted up also felt so extremely soft. So yeah, I did cast this on. Let me just show you. This is what it looks like wound up into a ball, and I cast on this hoodie. This is, I didn't even mention the hoodie name, so sorry about that. This is called the Redmond, just Redmond, pattern name, but is a hoodie, Redmond hoodie, by Hanna Maciejewska, and it looks so good, and it kind of just looks like a blob on my needles right now. It is worked top down, and there is a provisional cast on, so you'll see this blue like scrap yarn that I used for the provisional cast on that's not going to be part of the design at all. It'll be taken out later, but it is worked top down, and so I am currently doing the increases for the raglan. I'm trying to just like see if I can like space out so you can see some of that raglan shaping starting to take place. There are short rows, and so that there's more, the back is higher than the front right now. So it should feel, the fit should feel quite nice. And again, I tried this on at Flock. I tried on their sample in this size. Oh, speaking of size, I am knitting size 1, and I'm using US 3 needles, 3.25 millimeter needles to knit this. Actually, I did size up my needles because I looked at the gauge, and it was bigger than what I typically get when I knit with the size needles in the pattern. So I did size up my needles, but I did check my gauge, what's happening right now, and it's looking pretty good. So should work out well. It already feels so nice. It's so nice and soft. The gauge is so small though. It is quite crazy. Speaking of gauge, I should probably tell you what the gauge is. I just need to grab that off of the pattern. It is 25 stitches by 36 rows. I feel like that's not actually super crazy. yeah, it's actually not that crazy. But I think there is some kind of like, it feels a little bit intimidating to do a full-on hoodie, which is basically a sweater plus an entire hood, in fingering weight. And I have not made a hoodie in fingering weight yet. I have made a hoodie. I've made two, I'm trying to remember now. I've made two in DK weight and one in sport weight. So this will be my first hoodie in fingering weight, but I love my knitted hoodies. And so I know I'm just going to love this one as well. And I'm really excited to be starting working on it. Okay, the reason why, well, what was really nice was because, again, I got to see exactly what this will look like when I'm done knitting it. And I've tried it on in the exact size that I'm knitting. I feel confident that I'm going to love the end product. But what really drew me to this, first of all, was, again, you know that I love hoodies, knitted hoodies, because not that I've knit a ton of them, but I do love wearing my knitted hoodies. So another knitted hoodie in a really soft yarn, really like, that's what I was drawn by. And also what I thought was really cute, a cute idea, and also what I think Megan mentioned when I was looking at this hoodie at Flock was like, it would look so cute ice skating in this. I think also partly because the white color just, I know white can just seem kind of boring as far as colors go, but I just feel like there's something about, ice and it being like white as well, like that'll look just really like classy, or just like, I don't know, just one with the ice, I guess. And so that's kind of thought process and idea behind me wanting to make this hoodie as well. And I think that it's simple in terms of like, it's stockinette. It's done in stockinette. There's no like cables, no like lace or anything, but there's something about just like a simple hoodie. I do think that there's some, like the ribbing at the bottom might have some kind of like just a small little detail there. But there's something about it that just looked like a really great everyday wear hoodie, something I could wear going to sleep, easy to put on, something super comfortable that I fell in love with. So, yeah, I'm just really excited to be working on this, and I'm so happy that I have this opportunity to collaborate with Woolfolk for this as well. So thank you so much, Woolfolk. I'm going to be working on this quite a bit in the coming months, and it's been so far a joy to work on. The yarn does feel really great to work with as well. So it's not only feels great in skein and feels great knitted up, but working with it is also super nice. It's just so soft. It does feel quite thin. Definitely feels like fingering weight. But it's doing great. And I feel like for the first, I think I actually worked on this for 2 days this week. Quite some good progress. Curious to see how, at what point I would like to get the raglan shaping done so I can just and split for sleeve, so I can just knit straight on it, because again, it's stockinette. So I can just knit and not have to really think about it, and that's always a great place to be, I feel like, for a project. And so, yeah, so great. I'm so excited to be working on this pattern. Also, I'm excited because the previous things that I've knit for test knit for Woolfolk have been secret test knits, and so I could never actually talk to you and show it to you in the middle of the project and how it's going and progress updates. And so I'm excited I can actually talk about the progress of this as well, because it's not a secret test knit. So it feels really good, and I just feel very happy that I don't have to hide it from you all, and I can just share with you about the progress on this. So I'm just overall really happy, and I'm super excited that I actually get to make this hoodie that I've been dreaming about from Flock. I sound dramatic about it, but I really could not stop thinking about that hoodie from Flock. So it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. So thank you again, Woolfolk. Okay. And that's all of my whips for this week. And I have no acquisitions this week. And so my last thing that I want to share with you all this week is my spinning. Sorry, my face got really close to the camera because I had to reach over to grab my bobbins. Okay, here's my spinning updates from this week. I'm spinning 2 braids from Little Fibre Co. They're both Rambouillet. 2 different colorways though. One is Dusk, which I've talked about last week, and it's this light blush pink color. And I finished, this is one full braid, about 4 ounces. And so I finished spinning that this week. I had a slight mishap, which I'll talk about right after I talk about this. And then I'm going to ply these 2 together. But this one was a tonal, and this one is Snow Shine. And this is a variegated. It does have some of that very similar, probably the same pink in there as well, but also some purples and blues. And it's really, really pretty. I love how this is spinning up. And this is about 2 ounces. Like this is, I split, actually for both of these, I split the braid up into 4 as equal as I could eyeball lengthwise. And I was just spinning them end to end. And so this is 2 of them. So this should be about half. So I'm halfway done with the second braid. And so I'm hoping to ply these together this week. One mishap I had about this actually was in the middle of spinning this. I've had this brown part of the bobbin, it popped out, which was crazy. That's never happened before. It was just while I was spinning, something felt weird. Like in the middle of spinning, it started making this weird noise, like boo, boo, boo. Like I was like, what the heck is going on? I was like taking a look, adjusting things. I like added oil to the spinning part. I was like, because maybe I don't actually oil my wheel all that much. I feel like it doesn't need it as much as I thought it would. But it was just weird. I was like, what the heck is happening? And then I realized this thing disconnected. And I was like, this is going to be so annoying to, I was just like, what do I do if I can't get it back on and continue spinning the rest of this? I was so close to being done with this braid. But what I had to do was I had to smash down. I didn't realize actually how tightly this is packed onto the bobbin, because the yarn was kind of like started to move up this way out of the pole that's sticking out in the middle. And I had to really scrunch it back down, and I just smashed it back on. I somehow was able to align it right and push it back on. And then I finished spinning. I was like, please just stay on long enough for me to finish spinning it. Because then I can always just like move it onto some other bobbin if it doesn't work out. But I want to finish actually spinning the fiber for this. And so it did. Still hanging on there, but I'm concerned. Once I'm done plying, I'm gonna need to see if I need to like glue it back on somehow so it doesn't fall off again. But I wonder if just because there's so much pressure against it because of how tightly it's being spun onto here. So it's interesting. It's never happened to me before. But finished this, started this, and it's gonna look really great plied together. I know it will. So I'm excited to see that. And again, I'm spinning this as one of my candidates for contrast color for my pressed flower shawl, which I want to make this year. It's on my Make 9. I do think that I will end up going with that, but I do want to just see my options next to each other, also with the main color yarn I'm going to use. And I'll probably ask you all for help. I do think I'm going to go with this one anyway, but I'll show you my options. Because who knows, maybe I will like my other option. It's just funny because this one was my original idea for the pressed flower shawl. Then I went with another one. Now I'm going back to this one, so interesting how it all works out. But either way, I'm going to have pretty handspun yarn to add to my collection, and it's going to be great. So yeah, I feel like there's quite a bit of spinning done this week. I've been enjoying spinning. I feel like I went through a kind of slump sometime earlier this year of like not really caring to spin, or just felt like I needed to spin just to spin, but I am back and enjoying the spinning. So yeah, it's been nice. Okay, and that's kind of it. That's it. For my projects. Yeah, I've touched a lot of my knitted projects this week versus last week. I think I really just focused on a few. This week I want to get a whole bunch of progress done on kind of all of them except for my blanket. But I do have some just like deadlines of things that would be nice to get done, and I want to be ahead on some things too, just because of some of these deadlines. And I know that I still have like 3.5 months left of the year, which is, for some reason, I feel like at this time of the year, I always feel like the end of the year is like next week. I don't know why. It's just how it feels. And so I don't feel bad stress. I just feel like, oh my gosh, I want to do all of these things. And I'm so excited about it. And I just like, oh, I got to do this and then I got to do this. But I'm doing it in I feel like I'm just excited. I'm like happy about it, you know? So I don't feel stressed or bad. I'm just too excited, I think, about my projects coming up. Yeah, I have more things I plan on casting on probably this month as well. Next month too, probably. I have to get my the Fleur Tees done. That is the one thing I'm unsure if I'm going to get done this year, but I really, really would like to, because I am going to see my sister and my mom this year, so I want to get it done for them, so we can take a group picture together with them done. But yeah, mine took a little bit longer to finish than I was anticipating, so we'll see. But I'm hoping to cast on. I would like to cast on and get a lot of the second one done still in the month of September, and there's still about half more of that this month to go. Yeah, but overall I'm excited. I'm feeling like maybe it's because fall's coming up and the weather's getting a little bit cooler on some days, where I'm getting excited again for knitting sweaters and all of that. I do feel like I went through kind of a slump. Maybe you couldn't tell because I've still been doing a lot of knitting, but it just kind of felt a bit kind of robotic or just automatic to knit, versus being super excited about the project. Or I should say, I would always have been excited about the end product, finished object, and I've kind of lost the enjoyment of actually knitting the thing. I feel just been excited about the end product, but I feel like lately I've been enjoying the process a lot more lately, and so that's been really nice to feel that again. So but yeah, thank you so much for watching. I feel like maybe this was a tad rambly, but I also had more projects to talk about this episode than last episode. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below what you've been working on or what you've been enjoying. Have you been spinning? Yeah, some new yarn that you've either tried, new colorways you love, anything like that. Let me know in the comments down below. I love to hear from you all. And yeah, I think that's all the updates. Feels weird. Feels like I'm missing something. But if I am, I'll let you all know next week. But again, thank you all so much for watching. I'm hoping that I can post more on my Instagram. Oh my gosh, I keep saying this every week, and then I get a burst of motivation to take finished object pictures, and then it stops. But I'm hoping this weekend's the weekend where I take more finished object pictures and post things. So fingers crossed for that. Wish me luck, because I need to do that. I really do. I also need to update my Ravelry. There's all of that stuff. But okay, finally signing off. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a great upcoming week, and I will see you all and talk to you all in next week's video. Bye!